Okay, curious. Obviously, we know the Defiant Matter are a team that like to play a lot of Ashe. You know, and there's a question of like, does that punish the Mei to an even greater degree? We know Hisu's preference, is, normally over towards Ashe, but we've seen teams sort of, mix a lot of that Sojourning. Good examples like the Outlaws, right? Merit's now playing a bunch more Sojourn, whereas he spent some time on Ashe here. So teams are showing that they can sort of, look good in both of those positions. The question is to Toronto, we know they have a great Sojourn player.
Right.
Hisu, what will the pick be?
We also could be a little bit down on the Mei play after we saw the Titans like not even make it near the point with the Mei yesterday.
There was the Paul High Rise, right? Yeah, one round where King like didn't switch after getting rolled in the first fight and they got blown out.
Right. Where maybe, this London Spitfire team, we've seen it a little bit more from them. They're a little bit more practiced versed with it. Maybe it's impactful during this. I also think we've been sleeping on Toronto a little bit. I mean, this is a team that, they lose to Dallas, and that's their only loss throughout this entire tournament thus far. And Dallas end up, being like the best team during the Summer Showdown. I believe they lose that match like 3-1, so it's like relatively competitive. Where the 3-0 by Johnny, it sounds kind of crazy because London's been pretty good so far throughout the season, same record, but at this moment in time, Toronto may just be a little bit of a leap ahead.
Yeah, this is a little obscure, but if Toronto do win this series and they do win like 3-1 or 3-0, they will be very happy to lock up third seed. Because fourth seed basically means you're playing the Gladiators in the first round in Toronto. And I don't think anybody really wants that smoke right now, not what we've seen them sort of come back with. But let's talk about the London Spitfire map while we have a moment here. Because this is a team where, we talked about Chaddy, where he sits on the Chad meter, and hasn't really had to be a huge standout on the Junker Queen so far. But suffice to say, I think this has been a stage where the London Spitfire are unable to force their opponents into playing their brand of Overwatch, right? They've had to fall in line with the rest of the meta, and maybe that's had some impacts on their overall performance.
And this is a team that this meta probably doesn't suit them the best, right? But they've been able to kind of weather the storm and make it work, which if you're a Spitfire fan, it's exciting to see for the remainder of the season, right? You don't want to say they're meta-proof, so to speak, but no, you're getting there. Take a little bit of time to maybe figure this out. You've also added Khan to this roster in case we kind of see the Zenyatta come back in the mix, so London's still in a really good spot in the overall season rankings. Need 2 maps today. Obviously, ideally a win, right, to get in.
Yeah, good point. I think that London obviously racking up a bunch of wins across the season so far. Sitting in a pretty good spot. They'd love to be able to throw down in Toronto, though. And, we already had the sort of the tank matchup highlighted a little bit. I think that's definitely going to be a factor. Even if neither of those tanks have been like best in class on Junker Queen, it still could definitely be a defining matchup. And we are looking for the main play, especially on Control. This is a team that are very good at isolating the enemy Junker Queen, but you go up against Hotba, not someone who is as aggressive as Kalio's. Both these Junker Queens have like pretty low deaths per 10, right? Like 5.2, 5.4 respectively. So pretty safe JQ players. Let's have a look here. Hisu, although, of course, have shown us quite a lot of fireworks. This team, there's a reason they're in third place, Matthew. Really impressive stuff. And Danny thinks Twilight is a 10 on the Chad meter. Johnny says 8. I don't really know how to, extrapolate that to how we should expect to see them play today. But whichever way you slice it, I think that Hisu's been a really hot prospect for this team, even mostly on the less mobile DPS pick in Ashe.
Yeah, and I think Hisu and although have looked really good in combo, I think although Genji has been a bright spot for this Defiant team. I wouldn't go and say Hotba is like one of the best Junker Queens like in the league, but I think Hotba is just so versatile and he's so consistent on so many different tanks that he's just a great addition to have on your roster, right? Over the course of like history and now, we've seen him be able to play so many different things. I mean, even like think back, we saw him a little bit on Tracer, if I remember, back in like Season 1 days.
Yeah.
The guy's just so talented, can play so many different things. So to have him in a meta like this and be able to pick up the Junker Queen and play it at a high level, high enough that you're potentially in, the top 3, it's a huge win for them, right? Regardless of kind of where you think he stands in the overall scheme of tanks in the league.
And this guy ever since, God, like season 2, season 3, he said he coveted the title of Big Boss, right? Obviously, Brian's legacy still exists. He said, I think back at the New York home set, he said, oh no, I'm the new Big Boss now, he says. Well, he's a chance to stamp his authority on this map against a very assertive opponent in that main tank position, or that tank position, rather.
It's been on a lot of so many teams now, right? I mean, what, Philly, Philly, Toronto, New York. But I feel like there was one more in there that like we're completely forgetting. I feel like he's been on, a few teams throughout. Wasn't he on Philly twice?
He was on Guangzhou. No, he went from Philly to Guangzhou to New York to Philly, now Toronto.
Yeah. Crazy.
Remember, and this guy was on, you remember LW Red and Blue? Yeah, this guy's on LW Red. So like, wow, what a career, honestly, this guy's had. And
even if he like wasn't starting on those teams, to be able to make it onto that many rosters and like go through the tryouts and like have other coaches watch his play and find it that good that you would bring him in, definitely speaks to like, what teams see in Hotba.
Yeah, so many different coaches with different philosophies. They all agree that Hotba is worth investing in, Matthew. Here we are. Both these teams are 10-7 for the season so far. And Chorong strikes first. It's Sparker to fall here. And Hisu's in very safe positioning. The Spitfire trying to transition this fight over towards the point now, but they've lost 2 players and they're going to get crunched here.
Yeah, and if you're not going to put any pressure on the Hisu throughout this series and let him just kind of sit in the back and on Ash and just pop shots, it's going to be a long, well, not a long day. It's going to be a short day for the London Spitfire. Yeah.
It's going to feel long.
Yeah, it's going to feel long. It's going to be very short, though. Like, he is so good. I mean, look at this dynamite. It's like 3 players here up on the high ground. Just going to be
more
that
like
damage.
Shishu. Let's go, baby.
That was terrible.
Let it breathe. Give it wings.
No, it doesn't deserve to breathe.
Let it fly. Here we go. Commanding shout. Into the small room as the London Spitfire try and group up and take the fight. They get Twilight. The Defiant want to play outside the room for the time being with all those strikes. And he finds a carotid. Having to find Admiral, but still, the Spitfire more than happy to brawl inside those closer quarters. They quickly flip the point back.
And that's where they'll win. If they're going to run the Ash and you can get in those close quarter scenarios with the Sojourn and being able to put down so much like more fast, rapid, consistent damage, and then those kind of like big bursts with the rail shots, that's when they're going to end up having the advantage in that head-to-head. They got to just keep forcing those fights in those areas of the map.
You'll make it harder for Hisu to get involved in the fight as well. If you play like this outside of his sight lines, close the gap on him really quickly. But Bob could be dangerous. Here he comes. He hits the corner, maybe a little bit further to the left than Hisu would have liked. Yep, Bob is just going to sit there as the backstop for the time being.
He's doing his thing. Just watching the flank.
Just watching Bob. Yeah, he's doing his job, no doubt about it.
He's watching the flank.
In the meantime, Toronto just break their foot off in the rear end of the Spitfire.
Yeah, Bob, he's taken on the IGL role. He just needs 1 kill and watch the flank.
That's right. Doesn't need to frag. He's immune from criticism for his performances as a caller. Love to see it.
He's just the brain. See, Backbone has to look directly above because Chorong's been playing up on the high ground there.
Yeah, frustrating to try and catch him. Great blade for all, though. Getting rid of Landon is a big deal, especially after he went for the rally. Good looks here for Toronto. They look very clean on these executions, and this looks extremely uncomfortable for London, who can find their pace when they need to, right? We saw that in a couple of fights ago, but the Defiant have taken their ability to set up away from them by pushing early.
Yeah, so this has been all Toronto early. So you'll have both support ults here. You got the Rampage. It's another big dynamite to kick things off there from Hisu. Oof. It's been dominant thus far.
Hotba takes a ton of damage. The sound barrier given to the rest of the Toronto Defiant, though Chorong, the timing was pretty good, but Backbone's going to punish Hisu. Out he comes. 99 here, and oh, that's a deflecting Genji at low health. What a tasty morsel. And indeed, he is ingested. Hardy's not going to really have a chance to touch the pointy, but Sparker and Admiral get there, and oh my, between the two of them, a couple of key kills. Yeah. London living on the edge.
That's wild that they were able to flip that, because that looked all in favor of Toronto. They had everything at the start of that fight with Hisu being able to pick up 2 kills early. They had the support ult advantage, and London able to just battle back. And now things get interesting because Toronto, they ended up dumping everything into that fight. And look at this, Backbone is going to get all though at the start. So this one's not over.
Both teams playing pretty similarly here. trying to take away their opponent's ability to fan out and actually form a concave outside of these corridors. Push in, get value out of disrupt the shot, and of course the axe swings. Oh, that's not supposed to happen at all. What a shot. Backbone is down here. Spark is sheepishly trying to back up, but Bobby's on the charge. In he goes. Dynamite, big connection as Hisu wants to make his way forward. Chorong down to Landon, but it won't matter. The Toronto Defiant surely look to wash over the Spitfire here. And it's a valiant stand for Landon, but it's not going to be enough. There will be a Lucio, maybe Genji touch here. As a Spitfire try and time it out as best they can. Backbone hovers, uncertain. Hisu blows him up. And with Admiral down, there's no one left to touch. The Defiant will seal this first round.
Yeah, and London ends up with 78% on the point. Doesn't really feel like it, though, in the sense of how those... Like, there was really 2 fights that London was able to win, but really, Toronto looked like they were just wiping them clean every single time. So, we'll see if London can battle back in this round. You win this round, maybe you can end up playing the May. Let's see what went on here.
It's not. What in
that is
what tarnation? I think he actually takes an unscoped shot there first.
Yeah, it looked like an unscoped shot, like as he was about to just like scope in to hit a headshot. We see an echo play here, maybe.
That's so dirty. Okay, we have seen it a little bit.
Okay.
We've sort of discussed why it may work. He's just playing Sojourn here. Backbone obviously really has to play in a very particular manner to avoid facing too much scrutiny. So far, play on the point, that's fine. Commanding shout here. Hisu's out of the fight to start with. Yeah, he's not getting healed at all. All Sparker had to do was find a body shot with that railgun. Land him very low, but he's able to get away. The Spitfire are trading aggro very effectively here, but it's not seems to be enough. They've lost their backline already, and Sparker, he's cornered.
Yeah, I was going to say, you get that first pick there on Hisu. He's not even able to make it over the bridge, but you just don't have anything else to help out as, man, Toronto able to win that fight inside. And I wonder if that's the advantage of, like, having the Genji in there versus, like, an Echo, right? Where the Echo doesn't really want to get inside and, like, brawl out. Where Genji, you have the deflect, you have a little bit more, mobility, survivability is, yeah, we see a Genji swap here now.
Yeah. I mean, Echo hits her power spike right at the start of the fight when she sort of offloads her combo and tries to blow someone up instantly. Outside of that, she's a little vulnerable. Just the try shot to rely on as those cooldowns are kind of long. All right, around the corner, Hardy tried to come, but that's a Carnage connection there for Hotba. Tick healing's pretty good. Some damage from the Disruptor shot, but nothing to write home about here as the Defiant are implacable.
Yeah, and Hotba also gets really good value out of the axe, the Carnage right around the corner. At the start, connects with 2 players with it, then gets a knife landed in there, and that's just, you have commanding shout as well. That's just go time as, I mean, Toronto, they're going to get above 50% on the point here, and they just, because they've been winning these fights so clean, they have such a large advantage in terms of the ultimate economy. It's almost like a repeat of the last round.
Hotba knows what's coming. Having a rampage up his sleeve. The earlier he uses it, the more effective. Sparker caught with the knife there. No follow-up, though. Hardy's moved up, taking the point. Hotba now is going to maybe have to settle for the backline for this rampage. Look at the pressure he applies it. Oh, there's a lot of purple there. Admiral, though, had enough time to get his sound barrier online. The one Hotba gives up his life to charge in. Burnt down as Sparker finds the railgun connection. Then the rest of the Defiant look very reluctant to try and commit further, but they're going to have to. Blade, what a hit. Okay, it's going to be a trade for all, though. There is Backbone with the dash through.
It's a 1-for-1 trade. You still have the Lucio here for Toronto, able to contest. Do you throw the Bob in here as well? Like, yeah, you're going to be able to get Hotba back in this fight, too.
Hardy? Oh, dear. Looks like, yeah, getting redirected, I guess, midway through that rampage. He just hits the wall? Or was it Bob sort of knock him off course? It's unclear. Either way, it's just reposition and nothing else. But the Defiant will have to regroup here a little bit.
The Toronto Defiant may be able to just turn this right back and take the point, yeah.
Admiral, if he gets knifed, could be dangerous. He's able to get away. There will be an overtime. Hardy makes his way in. It's a 2v2 for now, but reinforcements for the Defiant will be here first. Hardy's extremely low and there's not enough healing. There's no repair pack. Okay, does get the Carnage hit, so a bit of tick healing, but it's not nearly enough. Oh, that's a knife connection. Sparker. Yeah, I'd be scared too. He's got nothing to shoot at.
Move around the corner, yeah.
Oh, the helpless feeling for Sparker. As the Spitfire gets shut down here. In that second round of Lijiang Tower, Toronto look a little bit more confident, a little bit happier. setting the pace, and I mean, it shows in terms of the scoreboard as well. He's still 11-4, although 10-5, Hotba 9-3.
They were just not able to slow down Toronto when they went with a Sojourn setup at the start, and then even, on the Ashe. So we've seen the two main looks for the Defiant look very strong thus far. Really worried about London the remainder of this series.
One of the biggest criticisms for the Defiant in the past is that they're a bit rough around the edges, a little bit eclectic, but right now they look extremely polished, Matthew. They've got their protocols nailed down. Heading into Toronto, that's a big deal for this team in front of a home crowd. Stick around, everybody. The Glads punch in the air now as they hope that the Defiant can close this one out without too much bloodshed. A lot to play for on today, this last day of Summer Showdown qualifiers, ladies and gentlemen. The London Spitfire need at least 2 maps from this series in order to make it to the Summer Showdown, to Toronto, and to boot the Gladiators out of qualification. Now for Toronto, they can lock up the number 3 seed here with a solid win or at least 2 maps themselves. That's important because, as we discussed, if there's a team like the Gladiators sitting at 8th, nobody in the top 4 is going to want to pick them. So if you're 4th seed, you'll have no choice.
You don't. No, the more we say that, I could totally see Krusty rocking up to the selection show, and they be like, "Yeah, sure, we'll take the Glads. Why not?
I mean,
get them out of the way."
How'd that go for them in Texas, man? I know that times have changed, obviously, but we still have question marks about San Francisco's ability to deliver at a live event. As good as they've looked online, that's never been in dispute, right? It's always been how they turn up on the day when the crowd is cheering, the lights are going, and those setups. But we digress, Matthew, because we've got a couple of matches to get through before we can think about Toronto. But the team.
I thought you were going to say that the shot get nervous when you're in the room. I thought that's what you were going to say. They see that one shining spotlight at the top of the arena, and they're like, "Oh man, Uber's here! Look out!"
They can't tell. The lights are too bright for them to even see that far. It's all good. I can look at them, but they can't look at me. It's like a one-way mirror. It's like a big interrogator.
Typically.
Yeah. The Toronto Defiant, 10-7 over the course of the season, man. For all the hullabaloo about this team for a while, really only being able to go 500 and definitely struggling against the top echelon, we finally have the stars aligning where this team can, show up as a top 3, top 4 team in the entirety of the Western region.
I do wonder
before we even get to land.
But I was thinking during the break, I was like, man, because I think we've already, with this Defiant roster, we already kind of have a notion in our head of where they fit in the scheme of all of the teams, right? That if you were to watch these games without the players listed, not know which team they were, right? How would you view this team? I wonder if we're just underrating them off of previous performance, and they're just really leveled up. Because London's not a pushover team, but they made it look like they're in map number 1.
Although, okay, I like this from the Spitfire. Man, they push up, but they are okay. Now we swap sides. Player advantage here for the Spitfire, but a tick is achieved for Toronto. Now they group up. Oh, okay, they're kind of
he's just
away. Wait a minute, Twilight. He's off the Chad meter. He seems actually able to get a kill.
How does he get 1?
Yeah, well, because Twilight just turns up, doesn't he? The bloody March of the Valkyries. Homeboy's in there to protect his teammate. Unfortunately, it doesn't result in too much. They give an extra kill, in fact, with that Twilight diving in there.
That was high on the Chad meter, though, for Twilight to just...
It was. Yeah.
So get down, Mr. President. Just jump right on top of his.
All right, Commanding Shout gets the Defiant in position, but they still need to execute here. Sparker here with a dynamite. Will keep his head down for the time being, but the Defiant still need that second tick. They've got it now. 70% and counting here. The Defiant starting to wrap around the building a little bit more, and the Spitfire need to make something happen. Twilight forced back. Can he keep his shield up for long enough to stay alive? Sparker has a railgun, but no chance to use it. The Defiant drag the Spitfire, kicking and screaming off the point, and claim it for themselves.
And these are the worst, those are some of the worst spots where we were watching London, having to fight against the Ash, right? Inside of that cafe, 2 exits, big dynamite value, and then kind of wrapping around in that corner, really good there, where it's hard because you want to play this comp all together, the one that London's running, and they'll play as a unit, but the Ash value with the dynamite and having to force out healing resources and then still have to kind of get close to the Ash, it makes it difficult to win those fights.
Yeah, really difficult for anyone to defend that point right now, Matt. Just feels pretty slanted against you at times. Different story here, though, is the Spitfire naturally have some high ground to start with. Here comes the Blade. What's Backbone looking for? Nothing, apparently, I guess, as sees the Bob forced out and the rally. The Spitfire look like they're happy enough with that transaction for now.
Yeah, it's, but they're giving up so much space. Look at this. They're going to have to rally to get close.
Hotba's caught out of position big time. He needs his team. He needs his teammates badly. Hotba gets drilled here. The Defiant, again, try and follow up, but great job by the Spitfire identifying a player that was a little out at sea.
I think you're okay losing this fight, though. like, considering how much payload progress you got here for the Defiant, these players, need to die a few seconds ago, but, now you have, like, matching in terms of support ults, right? You have your own Blade. You can maybe now try and get, like, Hisu this high ground if you're really kind of, like, posture for it from where the card is, where I don't think that's a terrible fight there for the Defiant. I think it was almost like London really needed to, use the rally and start that fight because they were going to fall behind really far.
Player advantage and sound barrier. Admiral, no opportunity to use his own there. Quick reposition. I noticed that from Hardy. He's able to line up Twilight. The follow-up is pretty good. Hisu falling the Sparker at long range, and although could try and salvage things with the Blade here, but it's going to be forced away from Hardy, who's still healthy enough, and although is clinging to life, he will find the Junker Queen elimination. But it's really only Chorong here to work with for Toronto.
I believe you still have Hotba here as well. It's just not the ideal scenario. So what I do think is good for Toronto is that Hotba is kind of taking this high ground. That'll allow Hisu, once we get back into this fight, to maybe go up there and take that perch. But he actually ends up giving it up because probably hears that the rest of London's coming from that opposite side.
I mean, Hotba can't hit a rampage, I think, if he's playing that high ground. He needs to wait and hope the Spitfire drop down and give him something to work with here. Hisu getting pressured from this high ground, but he's still able to find Backbone despite the scrutiny of Sparker, and now Sparker's going to back on up. He'll drop to the low ground here as Hotba extends into the formation of the London Spitfire. Not able to find the elimination there, but Twilight is able to donk Sparker, send him packing. 2 players now left for the Spitfire, and the cart gets home for that second checkpoint.
Yeah, and that time Bob actually does make a difference. Kind of runs right into that box, but it's really difficult to get around the corner to contest the payload. So Toronto able to get across the line. London did put up a better defense there, though, Mitch. And then their point A started to come alive there, did London. So we'll see now as they kind of come from the high ground here. They'll have their Blade. So do you want a Blade around this corner? Do you want to play this, or do you want to give them a little bit more space? They gave up a lot of space in point B. It didn't work out.
Paratroopers drop off the high ground. Nice dynamite there. Good heal. Pressure necessitates a commanding shout. Blade from Backbone staved off initially, though. Looks like a whip shot sent him backwards, and Landon is a little too far forward. Losing the brig is not going to put you in good stead for the rest of this fight here as Backbone comes up with very little from the Blade, and Hardy is overrun. Backbone desperately trying to knock on the door of the caravan. Somebody give me sucker. Spitfire backing up into their spawn as the Defiant find another gear.
Yeah, and it'll be Hardy with a rampage here coming out at the spawn, but you'll have Although with the Dragon Blade. He's going to use it right at the spawn door.
Catching Hotba, I guess that was his intended target. Although Blade looks a little blunt when he's hit with that anti-heal, though. And Hotba also affected by a rampage down. Means the Defiant are going to have to go again.
Just really one more fight that they need to go their way, where London needs to be perfect from here on out, as Chorong trying to get back to the rest of that team. He's been taking some, we've been seeing it through the third person, but he's been like really up high in the high ground, really trying to displace, get people into these dynamites. So you see he goes and takes that high ground straight away.
Yeah, trying to make sure that they don't have to worry about a flank, someone dropping down behind them. A Genji in their backline could be catastrophic. Oh, that's not good. That's even worse. What diabolical circumstances affect the Spitfire? They've lost Sparker and Landon. Well, Bob makes short work of him. That was a non-fight, Matthew. Looks like the Defiant found everything they needed, executed on those wind conditions, and have a smooth minute and 15 to work with.
Well, especially getting Sparker first, because how do you get rid of the Bob fast at that point, right? The Genji, just with people obviously putting other damage into the Genji, like can't just jump out in attack the Bob. So you're in a really tough spot when Hisu picks off Sparker. Yeah. But man, when he's just playing like this on the Ashe and he's not being really bothered that much, he's able to get so many first picks.
I mean, that one's huge, especially when you're forcing into a cul-de-sac as attackers. Generally, you don't really have great angles to work with, but Hisu's found them every which way. 9 final blows, 3 deaths, and about 35% of team's overall damage. This is, we're talking 13,000 damage per 10, to put it in perspective. So I would put it, that's like 30% above like what is baseline, what is average. By comparison, Sparker's only able to achieve, 6,000 damage per 10 in this round so far. Really, so much space being taken away from the London Spitfire. They cannot get that DPS Dynamo in position to do his best work.
And let's see how London go about this on their offensive side. Man, you lose this map here for London, it is tough, right? We talked about they needed, you know, you need to get it 2 maps today. You're looking at having to force like a reverse sweep potentially. Not giving themselves the easiest way. So, okay, so this will be, ooh, almost gets strong. That's a good attempt there. So you use the symmetric TP to get a better angle, yeah.
And we like to see that kind of innovation. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite yield the results. Again, very hard point to defend right now. If you see the Defiant win even one fight, that's a big win in general for them. Backbone doggedly trying to contest this high ground. Pressuring, although that was our amped heal, if I'm not mistaken, from Chorong, and Hotba's already gone down. So to the back line, Backbone goes. Mega picked up here, little dangerous by Hisu, but there was some backup for Backbone as everyone dove on the Ashe.
Man, nothing you can do now once the Ashe is out of the equation. So, let's see, it should be London being able to take this relatively easily. Now, I think we kind of see like point A fall pretty easily often now. I think only like 1 or 2 games I feel like we've casted throughout this stage where it's been, you know, the other team like a spawn hold like close and you're able to stop teams through the choke, where really this second checkpoint's where it's tough for the offense dealing with this high ground.
The Defiant were able to work with it, but again, they spent much of their time trying to force the defenders down. They didn't take a lot of pressure early, so they're able to push the card a long way through this phase before there was even really a fight. Annoying for Backbone there to get hit by Dynamite. That means he can't really get information for the time being. It's too risky. Oof, another body shot there. We'll keep him honest. Oh, has to deflect here. Okay, he's able to get out. Healing expended, though, to keep him alive.
The healing expended, but then also you see, like, with the Ashe, with the Dynamites, with the healing resources, it just forces you to use so many cooldowns, right? To be able to keep up.
What? He's blading, son!
Yeah.
Have some decorum! My God! I'm gonna say it again. Very, very dangerous on the Ashe. That's 3 final blows in the fight for Hisu. He's 12-4 right now. I mean, immediately also, yeah, I mean, that first kill was really set up by the Dynamite, the drop down by although. A lot of the time we're seeing Genjis in these Ashe comps being very good at follow-up on the Ashe's Dynamite explosion. They jump in, Swift Strike Dash, close-up Shuriken, secure a kill on a 200 HP or less hero. Here's Bob! There go the Spitfire.
It just forces so many of the resources out of the whole team. When Backbone has to go challenge the, you know, Ashe, right? It's the dash plus the deflect. Then the Dynamites hit, you have to use more heal. They just kind of like chip you down over time, right? They're not really intended to be aggressive.
Oh, they're going. Although makes the charge in, but it's Hotba that really strikes gold here. He's with a lot of pressure. Even Sparker, even with that ultimate, getting rid of although is pretty big there. That was a headshot. Hardy very low though. The rest of the Defiant have the numbers. Look at this team right now. I mean, it's pretty hard, Matt, to point out any glaring issues in terms of this team's ability to group up and achieve their win conditions. Their coordination looks excellent.
Well, because you know they can also play the Sojourn as well. Like, we've seen Hisu play that character really high level too. It's just this Ashe look that they've been really strong at. You know, other teams do it, obviously not as effective as I think Toronto, but I mean, dude, Backbone was so weak.
I think he got headshot by Hisu, Matt.
Yeah.
Was forced to duck inside the building. And if you get headshot by an Ashe and you have Brig Lucio, odds are you're not going to be healed up in time. And although knows this,
well,
he knows he has like 5 seconds to dive this.
They can't heal it up, because if you do, and they see that, right? If Toronto sees that you're using like AMP or you use the cookie or two, right? And all you have is commanding shout, and they have everything available, they're just going to run you down.
Oh, nearly, although that's a little unhinged, I've got to say. Here comes a Rampage. Chorong's hit by that one. Twilight opts not to go for the rally yet, and 2 players hit on the Spitfire. Admiral does not want to use Sound Barrier, trying to get out of his own dance sport, so he holds on to it. Good discipline. Hotba's in the thick of things, though. Make no mistake, here is that Sound Barrier for the London Spitfire. Bob is a nuisance. Sparker has to push forward to get out of his purview, and Hotba is taken to the butchers.
Yeah, and I think they just wanted to get as many ultimates as possible out. Get them to use the sound barrier basically in the spawn to break their way out. Because you see where the payload is. Still a long way to go here for the London Spitfire, where Toronto, they've completed the map, right? You're going to be able to come out here. It's going to be a pretty strong combo with Rally plus Blade. So we'll see how the Defiant go about dealing with this.
It's very clear that Defiant are going to make a run for this. Group up, take the high ground here. They're going to have to do it rather quickly. They have Twilight up there. Oh, they're going to have to be fast about this. Hotba is getting overwhelmed. Okay, Commanding Shark keeps him in the game. Backbone heads upstairs. Oh, the coach gun. Hisu gets to stay alive. There is Backbone is going to be knocked away, but Hotba eventually falls. He was taking so much damage at the start of the fight. Backbone needs to be a little bit careful. Doesn't quite find the deflect timing for the Dynamite, but still the card is going to sail home here. 2.5 minutes for the Spitfire to finish the map.
Yeah, there's nothing the Defiant could do there. Just a really good suit of ultimates there for London. And eventually, it's a little bit drawn out, but able to get the cart over the line. So, I think more interesting, where did the Defiant elect to take this next fight? Is it aggressive around this first corner? Do you try and play for the second one? Looks like Hotba and crew going to jump down. Might get aggressive.
Last two fights, Matt, looked really good for London. Perhaps they're able to find a second win here. Once again, the Defiant characteristically threatened to take the pace-setting ability away from the Spitfire, and Hardy's getting smacked up in the front line. Good disrupt the shot here, but the Defiant are more than happy to push up past it and go for the throat. Hotba is low. Chorong sound barrier, though, gets the job done as Landon falls. Spark is forced to play from the periphery here, and the Defiant seem pleased enough with 2 kills. And now they'll go for even more. Another commanding shout here. This might be a little awkward for all those. He was caught, lost at sea, without the rest of his team. But here come the Defiant now just to punctuate that sentence.
Yeah, you'll have Blade Rampage here, so you invested the beat to push back, burn some clock here. So this is a prime shooting kind of angle here for Hisu. Just this long straightaway. Perfect for Ash's effective range.
Needs to watch out for those charged rails. That's kind of it for Hisu. Having Bob available as well. An extra layer of protection. Built some confidence there. Here's the Rampage. It's on to 4 though. Twilight's rally's not going to help to keep him alive. Commanding Shout came in there, I believe, but he still goes down. Hotba doesn't have enough healing now. He'll save the Rampage for a little bit later, so it's a matter of stalling the point. Hisu does well. Gets rid of Sparker with the Bob, but is there anything more to be gotten for the Defiant? Twilight switches over towards the Yarnell. That could be impactful in this last fight scenario. 30 seconds left in the round. Can the Defiant stop the Spitfire in their tracks here? They have Rampage. Hotba might have to use it for the mobility aspect here as he trots up onto the point. Goes in, catches 3. Landon has the rally in play. He's going to be put to sleep by Twilight and makes a cameo on that Arna pick. But it is all about the Spitfire right now. That momentum they built goes a long way, and although gets turned to scrap metal, as the Spitfire are less than a minute behind in time bank.
Yeah, it was a nice Rampage plus the rally that was able to keep the London Spitfire in it and complete the map. So just a minute on the clock here for London. Pretty much have to be perfect on this attack. You know, you get like 1, maybe 2 shots at this. Really good attempts. We'll see what they elect to do, where you still have a little bit more time left if you're the Defiant, right? Almost 2 minutes on the clock.
So much can happen on this first point of the map, Matt. I think that's, you know, really crucial aspect here. Toronto, obviously, with his Ash composition, if they can win one fight, just one fight on this first point, will put the London Spitfire in a very nasty situation, but it is so hard. We see so much maneuvering from these teams right on point A, and generally speaking, whenever they have to back away into that back corner, as you see on your screen, it doesn't bode well. No one's really cracked the code on defending this map. It's just, well, it's just a attacker favorite, I guess.
We've seen teams play like really aggressive at the choke, and even push out at times. But I think with these 2 level of teams, I don't think you can really do that. So another shot here. I'm gonna fool Toronto twice.
No, they're wise to it this time. Toronto just don't seem too invested in keeping that ledge control. See, although he's there, but I think as soon as Backbone starts to assert himself a bit more, although probably will cede that position.
Yeah, I think although just doesn't want to give up high ground. Yeah.
I think Hisu had to rotate out of the cafe there. He's now at the back of the point. Oh, Sparker! Crack shot there to open this fight up. This is looking scary for Toronto now. Just what the doctor ordered. Actually, quite the opposite, really, if he's interested in life preservation, but I digress. That's 3 for Sparker right now. Single-handedly tearing the Toronto Defiant apart on point A. No choice but to try and buy some time here. Chorong and Twilight dive in for a penny and in for a pound, as they say. The Spitfire, though, they'll have overtime coming up in just a second, but getting point A. It's the first box ticked.
And Sparker goes massive, like you mentioned. 3 final blows in that fight. The most important, you know, being able to get Hisu right off the rip. So let's see how they go about pushing the card. I feel like anything past here, you're happy with all. Backbone playing for that high ground, just gets taken out with a headshot.
Yes, this could be pretty nasty. We're in overtime, remember? The Spitfire can't afford to give up this payload, but now they're down a player. Disrupt the shot there to try and dissuade the Defiant's aggression, but Toronto are invested in ending the round here now. What a shot on Hotba, though. What kind of space creation methods do you have left? The Dynamite K does a bit of work. He's able to get some damage in here, but Twilight's going low. Backbone's into the back line. And Twilight has fallen here, losing Hotba. Big mistake for the Toronto Defiant. And now Backbone's going to make short work of them. They're Spitfire. They're far from done. Backbone fatigue showing itself on his face.
They are battling back as Backbone gets taken out early, and then they try and push up the Defiant, but just not enough to be able to take them out. As you get Backbone back in the fight rather quickly, you lose Hotba, and as soon as you lose Hotba, felt like it was over. Surprised they kind of dragged it out for that long.
Need I remind you, still in overtime now. Bob, Blade for the Defiant. Everyone has ults. This is about to get messy. Hold on to your hats. Soundbearer comes out here from Admiral. It's going to be Twilight. Pop the running. Chorong also with his beat. Admiral has the crosshair on his back, and although he's able to chase him down, Harding just trying to play off the card. He's able to get rid of Hisu at the very least here, and I think although a bit nervous about trying to take on the Junker Queen. Sparker biting off more than he could chew there. It's going to be a mace to the face for Twilight, and then Defiant shut it down. But arguably, the Spitfire get a lot more than Defiant were willing to give up.
I think that's a really good attack there from London. I mean, you have a minute on the clock, you get checkpoint A, and then make it about halfway through B. Pretty good offense there from London, given the circumstances that they were in. As you're totally okay with that. We'll see what the Defiant offense brings us. Looking at, like, if you're London, you need like a stop, like maybe like 1 stop on point A. Then if you have to give it up, you got like 2 fights, probably 2-3 fights here on checkpoint B to give yourselves a chance to win this map.
Yeah, when we get to the pointy end of this map, 1 minute, that extra minute that the Defiant have could really make a difference. But if we're already in the realm of talking about a defensive stop on point A, that would really stand the Spitfire in very good stead. And again, sometimes on this map, that first hold can translate into significant ultimate advantage. Remember, the Genjis often build ultimates first if they're having any success in that first fight. Getting a Blade against a team that does not have beat can really seal the deal for you. Again, pretty standard stuff here. I think every team is invested in trying to find a free kill, an early elimination here. Both sides doing that. That's a disruptor shot. Won't slow the Defiant down, though. They've got a job to do.
Nope, as it'll be Hisu coming out on the Ashe. His Backbone needs to be careful. He's like split off from the rest of the team, right? They want to play this like really aggressive, at the choke, but he gets caught out with a headshot. He's in trouble as you lose Sparker.
How? Oh, how did that happen? Sparker taken down at the start of this fight. Chorong's signature brand of aggression yields the perfect elimination for the Toronto Defiant. Capturing this point with about 1 minute and 20 left, it's a big deal.
The fight didn't even go long enough for London to build anything meaningful. I mean, well, you're going to be ahead, obviously, towards Bob, towards your beat as well, and especially your rally. So, pretty bad fight there for the London Spitfire.
Keep an eye on Backbone. He actually built a lot of ult charge with that poke damage he put down on Orbo, playing from the rear. What a dynamite connection. That puts the Genji out of the fight. Okay, still got to go aggressive though, because the Cabanic shout's in play, and he's just feeling a little uncomfortable right now. You can see the Spitfire giving him the hot foot. Yep, Chase him down. Hisu is removed. Backbone now getting the back line. And again, this is what the Spitfire were looking for. I feel like I've said that so many times about Backbone, but he's been very effective in translating that aggression from the Spitfire into eliminations. And that is a big stop. The Defiant still have time to work with, but this is their last chance.
Spitfire probably have to back up, though. You've lost too many players to play this close. You're going to have to back up. Concede a little bit of space here, but Backbone with the blade could seal the deal here in the second map.
He's built that so quickly. Although still 20% away, and like I mentioned, there's no sound barrier, no rally to answer a potential blade. Backbone can unravel this whole thing right now. Cold Heart Steel drawn, and it's going to be Chorong and Hisu removed. That's the answer. Backbone returns to the card now, but there's not much to do. Job done, said the London Spitfire. They've evened up the series here. In extra time on Hollywood, they take the dub.
I say come up clutch. The Defiant on their offense, they looked good, finished with time left in the bank. London, they battle back to their offensive side and then hold strong on D to steal the second map in a series which was, after map 1 and the first, how Toronto attacked, it looked like this was going to be all Defiant, but London making this a game.
And they're warmed up now. This really throws our seeding and qualification potential up into the air as the Spitfire show they can take it to the Defiant. Stick around, everybody. One of the most important matches of this qualifier. It's only halfway done. It's almost tournament time, people. That's right. The Summer Showdown presented by Bell kicks off on Thursday, September 8th in Toronto. That's right, 4 days time. Come see your favorite teams and casters live, play Overwatch 2, and come and join the party. Tickets are still available, and for the best seats in the house, be sure to check out the Bell Fan Zone. Gonna jump on a plane in a couple of days, head over there myself. Not something you want to miss, especially with the exciting prospects from the West we have in qualification positions. Now, the Spitfire may have one of those open to them as well. Another map win, Matthew, and they'll get what they came for.
And hey, also a good reason to go to Toronto. It's 107 out in LA, so you got a good reason to get there. I mean, it is boiling out. I don't know how you're doing it in your garage. That's madness. Well,
lots of fans.
Because you're usually pretty sweaty, and I've seen you on the feed. You don't look like that. You're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Well, lots of fans, mate. What can I say? You know me. You know I like to put in the work, Matt.
Yeah.
So if I look sweaty, that's fine. Yeah. Circle Royale is going to be our next map in the series.
I was just imagining when you were saying like all the fans. I was like, well, does he mean like actual fans giving him air, or did he like print out pictures of fans and he's put them in his garage, so he's just speaking to cardboard cutouts people? But I assume you mean fans to cool you.
Anything to make it seem real, Matt. That's all I'm going to say. No palm fronds required. I really feel like the London Spitfire showed us a huge turnaround. I've got to say also,
for real. Yeah.
I think Backbone comes out with 23 final blows for that map out of like a total of 60 odd, so huge performance. He's doing, although working pretty hard, but they're unable to really slow the Spitfire down, and we've really seen like this aggressive tendency from London, right? Just send Backbone forward. Now, it's blown up in their face a couple times, but man, I mean, to win it there against a 2-minute time bank, Backbone was a huge component of that. What a blade to seal the deal in Hollywood.
You need to. He's got to be aggressive. And if Toronto is able to defend against it and punish it, so be it, right? Because just trying to change up the way you play and play a little bit maybe more passive against that Ashe is not going to work. And the Defiant, they recognize, like, hey, this may be a little bit too much to handle, as Hisu will be playing the Sojourn here.
Okay. Maybe you move away from the Ashe for the time being. London positioned towards this room here. Eventually they're going to have to come charging out, though, as the card has started to pass them by. Hardy emerges as to the rest of this London cohort. That Backbone, all those who try to keep track of the guys, he bounces up and down. Now these teams have swapped places, essentially, as the Spitfire look to start to converge here on some of these lower players, but Backbone just dangles himself right in front of Twilight, and he's more than happy to snap up that tasty morsel. Although, lots of chip damage on him there, especially nasty to follow it up with a railgun. Sparker has 2.
Oh man, this Twilight gets right into the mix there, just trying to go after Sparker, but I mean, who is still left here? It's Hisu, so pretty good hold so far for London. Hisu will get back with the rest of the team, try and regroup. Everybody will be at full strength. For a second there, I thought the cart was going to like get so far that London was going to have to play like a really long catch-up, and it wasn't going to work out for them. They need to go a little bit faster, but ends up working out in the end.
All right, Backbone out of the picture now. With Hisu, has a lot more room to work with. Yeah, the Defiant here get a bit more of a standard engagement, the kind of one they were looking for, and they're on the move. 90 seconds have elapsed. But you'll notice here, crucially, the Spitfire opted out of that really close spawn camp. Toronto didn't have to worry about that. We see a few teams that have really made that very punishing to their opponents. Perhaps a sign of respect from the Spitfire.
The close spawn camp has looked sick. Like every time we've seen it, it's burnt like a minute 30 off the clock there at the start, which is really tough to do.
Yeah, on this map as well. I mean, it's the difference between a team getting to the last stage and just not running out of time. Hardy was not in a position to do anything there. That sideline is really brutal for Junker Queen in general, right? It's so open. And if you've got someone like Hisu who's going to exploit that, no surprises that Hardy was forced to cower in the corner and wait on a bit of healing. And why not just try and press into the wound a little more, throw some salt on it, as that cart gets that first checkpoint now, and the Defiant want to keep pressuring, and they force the ultimate out of Hardy. It does come at a cost of Hotba's life, though.
Well, you can actually, if you're London, you can push up and get a really good spawn kill here. We talked about how good it is kind of playing outside of the spawn there right at the start of the game. This one is almost just as good.
Yeah, they've
right
converted really well on that kill.
And think about how costly it is to play here. For the Toronto Defiant on offense, like, you know, you get around that corner, or even the first corner there towards the high ground, you're taking so much poke damage coming in, like, it's really difficult to get the car moving again.
All right, some ultimates coming online though, crucially. Saw Rally, we saw Rampage use earlier on. Here's that overclock from Hisu. Sound barrier in response here, so not expecting too much is Hisu, but pressure needs to be put on Backbone here. Sparker snatches Hisu away. He's starting to come alive in this series as well. The long-range pressure really being felt as the Defiant, again, get ground to a halt. And there's no reason for the Spitfire not to assemble a bit of a close hold again.
No, and the Defiant end up using a bunch of ultimates during that, so nothing for this next fight. Can keep continuing to make it more costly here for the Defiant to get things going as you take these fights fast. I even think if you're London, you could even think about playing a little bit more aggressive, like almost at that first corner if you wanted to, but...
Need I remind you, this is London's qualification map. They get a win here. They're going to Toronto and the Glads are out. 2 maps is what they needed from this series. Just 2. And they look locked in at the moment, Matthew. Again, it's a Sojourn setup that punishes the Defiant as they try and amble towards the car, which has been careening backwards for quite some time now.
Well, because even if you play close here, if you're London, right, and play aggressive like from this point, you can still play players up on the high ground to the right there that can just shoot down, like straight up above the members of the Defiant. It's nasty.
Sparker struggling to find a target here. He's playing pretty close to all the action in fairness. Hotba will catch him in the embrace of his axe. Again, gives up his life to do so, and losing your Junker Queen first in a 4v4 doesn't feel good. They need to get hardy here, but the healing from the Rally makes them very hardy, very durable. The Rally for Twilight is fine, but without Hotba, they seem a little bit rudderless here. Backbone's able to push up pretty deep, but although in a position to punish, melee kill will be found. And now, although digs a little bit deeper, looking for a little more here, the Defiant probably want to get that checkpoint now.
Yeah, they want to get Hottie out of the way. Actually uses a commanding shout and get back with the rest of the team, because you can get a kill there late there on the Junker Queen. You could easily march this card in, but they don't find it. We'll have another fight here potentially for the London Spitfire to hold on deep.
A lot of time bought by London here. It's been a big difference maker. Sound barrier from Chorong is the correct answer to a big Rampage hit. Although just needs to back away, play a bit safer on this Blade. Backbone's going to have his up pretty soon, and that could be the difference maker. There's not going to be any support ultimates for the Defiant to shut it down. And Backbone's Blade last map was a game winner. And has a chance to be here as well. Here's the Blade. As soon as he gets it, he lets it go. Thinks about the backline. Sees Hotba. Looking like a tasty snack, but can't finish the kill. And Hisu now has that overclock. Sparker's down, and somehow Backbone's able to find nothing in this fight. That's devastating.
Yeah, he ends up using the Blade, and he was weak and didn't want to like go in and make a play there towards the end. It didn't seem like they had like the healing resources to give him anything, so he just kind of ended up having to kind of like stand there, just get a little bit like passive healing from the Lucio or something, and not able to get anything with the Blade. It's that's as rough as it gets.
And now the Spitfire have to, again, just shrug that off. Did a great job, I think. Again, if you see Hotba get brought down first, it's always a good sign for the Spitfire. They've done fairly well at punishing that aggression. And, I mean, we know that London focus pretty heavily on dealing with Junker Queens, especially the aggressive ones. That's why they bothered to try the May out in the first place. I think they're, you know, Christopher probably sort of sees that as the crux of this meta right now. There it is again. Hotba picked up. Sparker. Another day's work, he says.
I feel like this is the map to win if you're London as well. You go, because you lose this, obviously. It's Toronto Defiant with an opportunity to close the series out 3-1. Push can oftentimes, like that first fight, if you end up losing it and the bot starts to go pretty far, like it can be tough, really snowballing to bounce back from, where you put together a really good hold thus far on D. You have an advantage in this next fight. Seal the deal here, win it on offense, and kind of punch your ticket that way. Don't let it go down to that push.
All the right moves right now being made by the Spitfire, and Hisu's only found one final blow to all those 10. Although in deadlift mode right now, and Hotba definitely has the highest amount of deaths on the side of the Defiant, so he is getting punished. How do they keep him alive long enough to have an impact? Hotba this time, playing a little safer. There's only so far you can run from Sparker though, and he will not be denied. A lot of rail pressure, sees Hisu go very low. We have 6 seconds left in the round now, so the Defiant need to put their heads together and figure this out. Hardy, I think he got knifed there. He's forced forward. Backbone's able to dash out there as Chorong extends. He will be able to rejoin the rest of his team now as we round the corner. Commanding shout. Gonna be a kill room here for Although, but the sound barrier is well timed by Admiral. Landed with the rally just to make sure the Spitfire don't give any openings, but Backbone's low. Although knows better than to charge in head first. He's gonna take his time now as the Spitfire are forced back a little bit further. It's gonna be Chorong's sound barrier. And a commanding shout coming out from the Spitfire. Not quite the same, but it'll do in this situation. Oh. And there it is. The Spitfire stay alive long enough. They get Sparker in position, and Hisu's gone down again. Make it 2 for the young gun. And Backbone gets in there with the blade. The Defiant will go no further on this map. And the Spitfire, they have set their condition not only to win this map, but also to make it to the Summer Showdown.
Man, the shot from Sparker on a Hisu is so clutch because he's getting close to the Bob. The Bob here at the end could have been really devastating, being able to take out Hisu, and then Backbone is Backbone really has turned up over the last map or so, where he has started to play really well, and the Genji finishes it off. But good hold there from London. They prevent the Defiant from completing the map. They get close, but like you mentioned, kind of your box victory, your end goal here, right, to win the map. You can kind of plan out from there. We'll see what Toronto does on defense. I think they probably are going to be a little bit more aggressive with their hold. I would not be surprised if this is like an outside the spawn type of scenario.
Here's those last few moments. I've got to give it to London. They go up against like a sound barrier and a blade, a lot of key ultimates there, and they just back off. They back off, they give some ground, they make sure that Sparker has room, and he repays that tenfold, right? He gives him an incredible result in that last fight. And I'm going to point it out again. Hisu is struggling on the Sojourn on this map. He's 1 and 3.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, you play the Ashe for so long, right? And you're used to kind of that range and position that now switching over may be a little bit hard in the middle of a series, but I also think it's a little bit of Toronto who's been playing a lot of the Ashe and now getting into the Sojourn head-to-head. It's a way different game, right? Where maybe it's not exactly Hisu's struggle. That's going to be a nice shot from Sparker there. It's just the team being able to play this style.
And I'll be honest with you, Matt, Toronto seemed a little bit half-hearted about this sort of spawn camp anyway. I mean, the whole...
They didn't really commit.
Well, look, by my observation, the whole point of playing that close is to try and deny the enemy hit scan from having room to work and just to sit back, charge a rail, and pick off a target. If you give Sparker an opening, he's absolutely going to exploit it. The Defiant are playing like a quasi-spawn camp. They're sort of playing back around the card as opposed to right in front of spawn. It was an incredible shot. You've headshot a Genji trying to play a safe neutral. Although not had the chance to do that. He's had to take such huge risks to get any results so far in this map. Hotba has 8 deaths, by the way. Talk about getting punished.
Sparker trying to land one of these shots again to kick this fight off. I think he's tracking Although there around the corner. What's a Hisu? Yeah, no, it's a Hisu. He's actually got him in the disruptor shot. That's going to force him back around the corner. Yeah.
I'm surprised the Spitfire don't extend further into that with both enemy DPS so low. Discipline from them, I guess. Gives time for the Defiant to heal up, though. It doesn't matter. Sparker's on one right now, Matt. 14 final blows, 4 deaths, 1 kill away from deadlift status for his team. Coming alive at the perfect moment.
Man, Toronto is like crumbled after map 1. Map 1, they were so dominant. Even the first half of Hollywood, but London maybe kind of like sensing the situation and kind of coming up with a little bit more urgency here, knowing that their playoff life here is on the line. So really turned up as, I mean, look at how much heart progress you're going to get here. If you lose this fight, if you're the Defiant, and end up investing some of these ultimates, that could be it. I mean, this map could easily be London's right after that.
Unbelievable, he's done it again, Sparker. An absolute magician, producing kill after kill. like it's from a hat. And he still has an overclock available. The Defiant, they're in their own hands right now. Look at them. Give up all this space. Just back up into the corner. Sound barrier's going to be there, although he's going to go for a blade. He needs to find a way to slow the momentum down, but Backbone won't be denied. Now he comes alive. He's activated, and although absolutely ruined in this fight, 3 players left for the Toronto Defiant. Yes, he sues back, but he's already been hit by yet another rampage. 4 players connected on by Hardy, and everybody on the Spitfire. Oh, they got this machine purring beautifully, Matthew. They have 5 minutes and 6 seconds in this last phase of the map. I think they're going to Toronto.
Well, can't call it just yet, but it is looking likely. It's yep, and well, you know, if they don't do it, London fans, you know who to blame. Hisu now goes over to the Ash. Longer sight lines here. Maybe they feel a little bit more comfortable on it. But like I mentioned, you know, they used so many ultimates in that previous fight. It's going to be tough now to battle back.
Defiant need to stem this bleed. They need more than just a tourniquet, though. They need a eureka moment, an epiphany. Here they come. Twilight's low. Hotba tries to dissuade him there with a rampage, but guess what? It's barely enough to equalize the fight. No healers up for London, though, now, so Sparker stays put, and he just rips, although a new one. With 3 players, yep, no problems, say the London Spitfire. I mean, if it's Sparker can barely believe it, he'll duck back for a health pack, and London will just get whatever extra progress they can. Admiral can just speed land him back in here. He's already returned to the fight. I can't believe how much time the Spitfire are going to have on the clock right now. Boomed is putting it lightly for the Toronto Defiant as we watch them now at risk of capitulating horrifically on this map. Backbone
right, so they get
picked off.
Yeah. Oh, well, you lose Twilights, and now we're even. And although in a really rough spot is no deflect. Yep. He actually gets landed before he falls. That's huge, because look at Hottie now. He has no healing in the corner.
He wants to hang around as long as he can, but again, he doesn't really have any way of mitigating the damage coming in from Hisu outside of the shout.
Hello.
Big breath taken in by the Defiant now. Still a huge time bank to work against. You can see just how tantalizingly close London are to achieving their goal in this series. Big knife there. Looks like that yoinked Sparker out of position, but the Defiant reluctant to risk going after him at this stage. Another big hit on Sparker. He tries to back around, but the bleed is going to get him. Hotba somehow caught him with the axe. Don't ask me how he managed to do that. A clean fight for the Defiant now. Maybe, just maybe, a little bit of confidence starting to build.
And they get right up to that spawn door. Make it costly for London. This is the right move for the Defiant. So 2 minutes and 45, as you mentioned, 5 minutes on the clock to get it done. When they got to this checkpoint, so you're already halfway there. You're the Defiant.
Dueling rallies. Shout here for the Spitfire. Blade coming out for although. What can he find? Hopper's down. Sparker produces yet another one. Although needs to reciprocate, and Hardy has fallen. Not a good omen for the Spitfire. Now they realize they can take some ground, and the Defiant sort of have to give up some.
Yes.
2 minutes, 17,
They have
Matt.
to push up. They have to push up a little bit, give themselves some more space. They can't afford to use any of these ultimates coming out of spawn. With how good the spawn advantage here is on Circuit D, as Hotba can contest from inside the little room there.
Had to be a shout there. Everyone went so low. Sound barrier, that's good. Twilight, he's gone. Chorong goes for the beat, but of course the rampage is a big one. He can't stay alive. It's although when Hisu, the only 2 left, Hisu really trying to get some space for himself, but eventually he gets run down as well. London Spitfire definitely underrated coming into this matchup as the Defiant look to be the better team, but it's not to be, and the Spitfire have ruined the hopes and dreams of a whole franchise so far in the Summer Showdown. That's 2 maps for them here in this series. That's what they needed to make it to the Summer Showdown.
And Backbone in the chat, and Sparker as well, wishing their goodbyes to the Gladiators there as they take that second map. And man, have they really kind of seized the moment? Did not look good for a bit. You know, after map number 1, even halfway through map number 2, Sparker and Backbone have really come alive though. Pushed London to within 1 map of taking this series over the Defiant.
Sparker, 20 final blows, 5 deaths. Hisu, 6 final blows, 9 deaths. Very, very quiet map for him. Toronto Defiant got to be frustrated by that one, but no one will be molding harder than the Gladiators, of course, as their hopes are dashed. Now again for the Toronto Defiant, even if they lose this series 3-2, they'll still get the number 3 seed, so they're not too bothered here. But they'd like to clean up their play a bit. It was sloppy, to be sure. Stick around, everybody. Map number 4. There's much more in store. This man just had his way with your team, Toronto Defiant fans. Absolutely diabolical stuff from Sparker. 13k damage done. He's 20 and 5. Ah, man. 15 of those, of course, were railgun kills. And God, I'd love to see how many of those came at the start of a fight. Absolutely rolled on that map. Again, I said he was in deadly position for a bit. He was like 16 of 30 for quite a while. But yeah, man, wow, the Defiant just completely went off the boil there. So bizarre to see them sort of in map 1 and now in map 3, just completely different teams. They need to wake up. They want that number 3 seed, but again, I guess they don't have to worry about the Glads coming in at 8th, right?
Yeah, that's true. The pain of that maybe goes away a little bit, but still, where's Toronto from map 1? I mean, they were awesome in map number 1, even halfway through map number 2, and then all of a sudden, London figured out what they were playing for. I don't know what it is, but they've really turned things around. I think it was Backbone, really, on Hollywood was way more aggressive and better, and then Sparker on that one, really, he turned up in a big way. It's almost like he kind of like some Space Jam stuff, like stole Hisu's powers for a bit, and kind of switch bunnies from map number 1, yeah.
I'll also say, like, it felt like the Defiance support ultimates just weren't able to get value. I don't even think the timing was bad.
It felt like they were pressing a bit, right? Like they were felt like they were forcing some stuff, like just...
Yeah. That last Rampage from Hardy, like, Chorong beats on that just fine. I mean, the prescribed response is there. And they still get absolutely bloody trounced. I mean, the Spitfire had like 5 minutes after that second checkpoint. Like, if the Defiant were going to win that map, they had to do it way, way, way earlier than that. And we go back, like, neither of these teams really wanted to full commit to the spawn camp, and even the Defiant looked a bit uncertain about it. And then Sparker just picks off, although, and the rest is history. We talk a lot about, I think, sort of DPS matchups in general in Overwatch 2, but also in this kind of metagame, right? Because Sojourn is, really your only source of that insta-pick potential that otherwise can make it pretty hard to find eliminations and drive player advantages in these matchups. So Sparker is the right person also for a metagame that depends on those first picks. The railgun's very crispy, Matthew.
Yeah, it's now as we go to New Queen Street, we do see, I think probably you can't play the Ashe here, right? For the Defiance, we're going to have to see some more Sojourn play where it's not been, like, I mean, it was not great from Hisu on that last map. We know he's been really good in the past, but not fantastic in that last map where if you're gonna allow Sparker to do what he did on that last map, I mean, there's no way you can actually come out victorious here on Toronto.
Right.
You gotta match that in some capacity.
Hisu's not the kind of player we actually accuse of being inconsistent. In fact, he's been very consistent this year. His output, especially on like Sojourn last stage and also over the course of the Summer Showdown qualifiers, it hasn't been streaky, it hasn't been sketchy, it hasn't even been really debatable. It feels like just like a once in a blue moon occasion there that he really goes off the boil. And I think the Defiant depend on his output to such a great degree that if it's not there, they completely fold. That is to say, of course, that the Defiant need Hisu, again, to regain that sort of sense of control over the game. The Spitfire have no interest in letting the Defiant back into this one, Matthew. They hope to close it out here on map number 4. It's going to be New Queen Street.
So now we'll see from the overhead what route both these teams try and take. A little fight over the high ground here on the statue and then jump down.
Yeah, bit of a neutral here. Ooh, okay, there was... Backbone at least had a dash or some ability to get back on the ledge available. And here it is, the Spitfire straight into the front line. They go chomp. Both teams lose their brig players, but Sparker again delivers. All those out of the picture here. Admiral was really just trying to help Backbone get out quickly. Didn't want to commit any further because you got enough in that last engagement. Neutral is won by the Spitfire.
So London will get the cart moving, the bot moving. So you'll have this fight around this next corner, and I think this is like where I was for London. I was scared if you lost Circle Royale and then you ended up kind of losing this first fight, then it starts to snowball out of control. It works the other way as well, right? Where it seems like all the momentum as Sparker finishes off, although, is with the London Spitfire here. This doesn't look like the Defiant we watched over the last like few weeks, right?
Hisu can't help there. There's actually nothing he can do, although dives on Sparker, who's protected by Admiral all the time, in a position that's out of Hisu's line of sight. I really feel like Hisu and although need to be on the same page here, if they're going to work together at all, which they're going to have to in this kind of metagame. Chorong takes a big hit there, goes low and is really dicing with death a little bit here as Sparker has not been missing. But finally Hisu gets himself onto the scoreboard, Matt. Finds that elimination on Admiral. And the Defiant are back in control for now.
Scary though, because London gets close to that checkpoint with the barrier, and you think you win another fight. You maybe have some ultimate advantage coming out of that. You're able to get it going yet again. So finally the Defiants will reach their barrier, get it moving. Kind of look across the board. Maybe they're in an opportunity actually to kind of get butt scratch and not have to do it the next go around.
It's pretty notable, by the way, that Sparker is going to be the first to get his ult on the Spitfire. It just doesn't happen very often at all. So having built that means his output's been pretty impressive over this round so far. Good placement for that disrupt the shot, but still, the Defiant want to go for it. Sparker hoping to dissuade them here with the use of this overclock. Hisu does the same, but has to reposition awfully quickly. His backbone drops in there and screens Hisu out.
Oh, he's just... I
They've
feel
got
like
to
he's
hit
like
those,
an inch
man.
off on some of these, yeah. I mean, that's a brig in a straight line, right?
Yeah. Unfortunate to say the very least here, as although draws a blade, but Admiral's sound barrier. Jeez, he was deep.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Did he get yoinked or something, or...?
It's unclear. Perhaps the sound barrier maybe just overestimating the comfort or the protection that it would give him. Slight overstep there.
Even if you felt comfortable, you were on, you were very deep in the opponent's backline with no way of really getting out.
I like suggesting it's always like a blade, right? That's a very easy way to give benefit of doubt here. Gonna have an equalization for this Defiant. Oh, that's nice. Okay, Hisu's able to bring Backbone down. In fairness, okay, but Backbone has a look on his face. So, mate, you've actually just gone and brandish your blade while standing on the ground in front of them. Like, it's a very aggressive move, to say the least. Spark is still able to fight Hisu, though. Big difference maker, and Hardy and Hotba trading there, as both of them have tick healing and bleed damage. But it was the Defiant in the midst of that fight who were able to get ahead.
Yeah, it's ahead, but not by a ton, where... you look at what London's got, they don't have anything here for this next fight. Twilight's going to end up getting rally. They're going to use that rally and push up. Only thing that would potentially stop that is like if, you know, you're able to get a pick from Sparker here maybe early.
Still 6 minutes to work with, so this one very much hangs in the balance. Twilight playing a bit further back than we see some Briggs play. He's probably pretty mindful about like Briggs getting picked early. It happened in the neutral fight at the start of the round. Okay, shield bash forward. Trying to go for some aggression as Twilight goes for the ready, but look how low he went, even just shield bashing forward there. Precariously close to death. The Spitfire are repositioned here up into this left-hand side. They have a chance actually to outmaneuver the Defiant, but Toronto are more invested in moving the bot across the map, apparently. They maintain formation until now. Look at them get split between high and low ground. This could be dangerous. Chorong, although both very low, but Hotba is able to find Landon here, and the Spitfire, it's fancy footwork in terms of the maneuvering, but it doesn't yield any results.
No, not really close to yielding any results. And they're all going to die as this bot's moving back to this barrier. So you think Toronto is able to get even further with this, as now they're going to get this checkpoint. It'll stop for a second here, but they won't have to end up doing this again, which oftentimes proves to be pretty important in these push maps. All right. Checkpoint coming up. Huge here is why do you think the bot has to stop and scratch there?
He's tired. You know what I mean? He's pushing that. That barrier looks mad heavy.
If you had any lore, you know, about that.
Jokic? I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. Sparker! Hisu trying to slide away. Not slick enough, though. He's intercepted by a railgun. In fairness, they come at the speed of light, so no hard feelings. Pretty hard to dodge those.
Well, although he uses blade there, though. And just gets dropped right away. So don't have that blade there. I mean, the sound barrier was used by London, so you're still going to have a pretty nice advantage here for the Defiant. I think you're just more on like the London Spitfire side of like, how do you win one of these fights down, so to speak? You've been losing players pretty consistently early on, and it continues here.
I like this from Hisu there. Preempting the Spitfire, to be fair, before they can really like get out of sight, disengage. Pops that overclock now, and
the Toronto Defiant are pretty good actually in this map, and we kind of observed it. You mentioned it, Matt. Move the bot as they're fighting a lot of the time. They sort of like, they want to fight on the bot while they have control and it's moving in their direction. And the Spitfire usually acquiesce by like playing around the fringes, trying to take high ground, and if they lose a fight while Toronto are pushing, it's a huge blowout.
It just is. So we see it here from the overhead. Like, they move the bot, right? Gets a little bit more meters. They go back, they pick up Hotba. And London is basically fighting mid-map all of the time.
Backbone blade there, of course, not much to be done. Oh, okay, I like the Rampage timing, juxtaposed with when the sound barrier was there for the Toronto Defiant. That's pretty punishing stuff. And yeah, as a result, the London Spitfire spend pretty heavily here. This is probably the time you make your push, right? 3 minutes left, so you really want to try and get that key checkpoint, I think, out of the way before we get close to overtime, because you're at a significant disadvantage if you move into overtime and you haven't managed to, you know, equalize in that regard.
No, I think if you're London, your main goal with this is to get that checkpoint. Even if you don't get it further than that, you at least kind of live to fight another day on this map, where if you don't get the checkpoint here, it's going to be tough, I think, to end up bringing this one back.
This is a really important fight. Rally opens things up here. Hotba trying to line up a Rampage. Admiral
gets one.
Yeah, he's the captain now. Apparently Hotba's not able to make anybody acknowledge his presence, and that's it. Spitfire get the fight they had to win, Matt. They get the checkpoint now. This is anyone's map.
That may be the break they needed. They just needed one thing to go their way, London, and yeah, Hotba only connects with Admiral with the Rampage. Doesn't even end up finishing him. So Charong takes a little bit of a big hit there. Let's see what they decide to do. They decided to go in early with all those blades. They know they probably don't have any support ults here.
Spark is ignoring him. He just slides away. Although he's not able to find any value whatsoever. That's another blade. Yep, that blade's down a Gurgler, Matt. That's 2 in a row from Although. He's struggling to find any value as Genji here. And Spark has got an overclock, you know, he's not afraid to use it either. Although, big hit on him. Most of that sound barrier is gone, and Sparker returns to finish the job. Bot still stood on the checkpoint, but a fight win here stands to put the Spitfire ahead. With less than 90 seconds left in the round, things are getting dire for the Defiant. We're talking DEFCON 1 bad.
Oh, and as soon as they use that blade and they're able to live through it, Admiral knows, like, we can get a free sound barrier here and start moving this barrier, and they have taken the lead. I mentioned they needed a few things to go right to make this happen. They've had everything fall in their way here, because look, this Rampage plus your blade, this could be huge here for London to keep this going even further.
Backbone happy to hover for a moment. Unwilling to commit as Hisu threatens. Brandishing that overclock there is enough, I guess, to force the Spitfire back because they're ahead already. And Hardy knows he can seal the deal with a perfect Rampage here. Although Matt has been invisible this map. One final blow for the Genji and nothing more. An absolute devastating turn of events here. And as the Spitfire start this fight strong, Hardy tries to catch Chorong with the slash, but Backbone is going to be following him up now. The Defiant commit themselves to the small room. The cupboard under the stairs. Here's Uncle Dursley shuts the door and locks it. This car could have gone any worse for Toronto in these last moments, and now at 14 seconds left, the Spitfire, it's no longer about parity, they're starting to threaten a full completion.
Yeah, and you're going to have a rally. Oh, I was going to say a rally potentially with Charong with the beat. They end up running him down. This looks like one where, I was going to say that Toronto is able to win, but you still have Hardy still alive here doing work.
He's healthy. Yeah. Probably going to drop here, 1v4, not exactly the best odds, but this is the last push for the Toronto Defiant, and the Spitfire are going to return with a rally and a sound barrier not far away. The Defiant cannot boast the same. Twilight's on the Ana here. Going to have to make it work on his famous pocket pick.
How do you win this if you're the Defiant? This next fight coming up is going to be brutal. Unless Hotba gets this Rampage early and gets one, and it's like massive, and they end up blowing some support ults. London's going to be so healthy.
Look at the chip damage.
Here's the rally.
Hotba's low, has to go for the Rampage now. It's do or die for him. He is healed up in fairness, but Hardy is the only one hit, and it's going to be a sound barrier and a rally to top him back up. Sparker, as per usual, deliverer of inevitability from that high ground, delivers a crushing blow to Although, and he drops the Toronto Defiant keel over. Not a roar, it's a whimper to end their qualifier run. Yes, the Toronto Defiant, they will make it, of course, to their own tournament, but there are some serious question marks over them after the London Spitfire takes them to task. With this result, The Houston Outlaws claim the #3 seed in the Summer Showdown. Toronto will come in at 4th.
A brutal series there for the Defiant. Had the advantage early, looked really good at map number 1. And when you needed the most, like clutch moments and just when they didn't have anything happen in their favor the entire series, like not able to come up with like one really clutch play from map 2 on. It's brutal.
Take a moment again to acknowledge the expectations for this London Spitfire roster coming into the season and where they're at now at 11 wins and 7 losses. That is an extremely impressive record. And this time, in the Summer Showdown, they don't have to do it their own way. They can play the meta and they can look really, really good. Throw the gritty down hard, you know you want to. London Spitfire, they snuck their way into the Summer Showdown already with an impressive performance over on Circuit Royal. I've got to say, Matt, if it's not Hisu disappearing, it's although he was absent in that last map, to say the very least. But let's talk at the positives. Let's talk at Spitfire. Let's talk player of the match. And this time around, it's going to go to the one, the only, Sparker.
His sojourn really turned up in the second half of this series. If he didn't kind of put in the performances, I think specifically on Circuit Royal, this is not a series that was going to be winnable because Hisu started out pretty strong on the Ash. And then I think once Backbone started going in map number 2, yeah, that one's pretty nasty. Once Backbone got started going in map number 2, they started putting like lots of pressure on Hisu and finding success, and it forced it into the Sojourn versus Sojourn matchup. Sparker was just way better, and he came up huge time and time again for the London Spitfire, being able to get some of these early picks and fights.
Yeah, a little questionable to start the series for the Spitfire, but my God, what a way to silence the doubters here. And again, it leaves us with a really, really interesting field in Toronto. For the Defiant, I guess they don't want to, don't need to stress too much, right? I think they've still locked up top 4, which is, it's a big deal. Sparky here as well, very, very solid output on Sojourn. I'd probably suggest as well that, you know, his real impact was concentrated towards the last couple of maps here. So the stats are for the entire match, where he has a bit of a slow start. Doesn't matter how you start, though, it's how you finish. And that engine got purring lovely. The London Spitfire, congratulations to them to qualify for the Summer Showdown. I'm telling you, Matt, Toronto is going to be something else, man. We have a collection of teams that we just don't often get to see make it to land, let alone, at this level. In very, very exciting times.
And the competition seems to be pretty open. I think you have Dallas and the Shock who have like hit another level, but there was we were like doubting the Outlaws the other day, and then they came through and just blew out a team. And then this series we were like, Defiance looked really good, but then London comes in and they ends up taking them. Who really knows once we actually get to Toronto, who is actually going to turn up on the day? I will say, you're going to need those clutch moments if you are going to be the team that advances far and goes deep. And Toronto's going to need to manufacture those. Today they had a lot of opportunities to actually win this series, quite frankly. They're just not able to come up clutch.
I mean, until the last moments of Hollywood, we were expecting that kind of outcome, to be honest with you. Still, though, some more unexpected stuff around the corner. We still have one more slot to give away for Toronto. It's going to be a fascinating matchup to decide that. Will it be the Mayhem or New York? Do they have something special to show us? Stick around, everybody. Much more here on our final day of Summer Showdown qualifiers, the Overwatch League.
Anyone?
Get him. I've hooked on him. Pull him. Nice.
Can we drop it? Quick.
Drop in.
Come on. Sojourn.
Good job.
On dash.
GG's, boys.
Nice shot.
We are winners.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's go, boys.
Nice.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Game Break. I'm Reinforced and I'm joined by Landon from the London Spitfire following a nice 3-1 victory over the Toronto Defiant. That guarantees that the London Spitfire are going to Toronto itself. Congratulations, Landon. How are you feeling right now having qualified for the tournament?
We're feeling really good. It was a really stressful match, so I'm sure everyone's like relieved now. We qualified and we had a lot of fun playing that one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the pressure was on you guys because you had to win this match without dropping 2 maps. Knowing that Toronto Defiant is a pretty strong team too, did you have any like specific planning in place respecting their team? Was there a player perhaps you were looking out for in the match?
Toronto is like one of the only teams in NA that like consistently plays Ashe. So trying to figure out how to play around like whether or not they wanted to keep playing that hero and adjusting our strategy was probably the most difficult part.
All right. Do you want to leak what the adjustments were?
Just run her down.
Okay, run her down. Yeah, got it. I mean, I'm not surprised this comes from London Spitfire as well, because you are, of course, the team that like to run Reinhardt, you know, especially early on in the season. And we even saw some Reinhardt like going into this stage in the first match against Florida Mayhem, for example. Then we saw Backbone stick to the Mei. But this was like the first series that I've really seen you guys stick to the Genji in full. What was like the reluctance behind sticking to the Genji and playing the meta? Did you guys... were you like afraid to play this meta composition where you wanted to like cling to your roots, or was there like a different reason why you wanted to incorporate the Reinhardt and the Mei to begin with?
I mean, Hottie's great at Junker Queen and Backbone's insane at Genji, so it wasn't like we didn't want to play the comp, but we thought there were points where it was legitimately a better comp, but we ended up finding it more efficient to just stick to one comp and just improve it overall than trying to min-max what we play where.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, over time, you guys have definitely adapted the composition, so no need to play the Mei and the Reinhardt anymore. So you guys are good at this now. Having qualified for Toronto, the Toronto LAN, of course, this is a huge success for the London Spitfire. You know, you guys have a great atmosphere going. People praise your coaching staff, for example. What makes the London Spitfire stand out as a team? Like, what is your favorite like attribute or quality about your team?
Everyone on the team genuinely likes each other, which means that when it gets tough and, you know, like